Mm, Well, hello everyone. As you can see, I have the stage here all to myself. We will be discussing Nancy Crampton-Brophy. This is the How to Kill Your Husband murderer. May have news all over the news. Was a big deal back in 2018 on June 2nd. Her husband, Daniel Brophy, was found dead at the Culinary Arts Institute of Oregon, I believe. He was the chef instructor there. Very well loved, very well liked. This was really big news in Oregon. Okay. Um, it was salacious to say the least. It's quite interesting because, to me, because of some of the legalities that happened during the case. If, from the beginning, Nancy herself gave two different versions of the story and had said that she was nowhere near the vicinity of where her husband was found. And her husband was found with two gunshot wounds, okay, from a Glock 17. He was found dead. She said she was nowhere in the vicinity. She had all these other stories, but come to tell later that she changed her story. Now, that happens a lot in murder cases, especially witnesses are confused, people give testimony, you're not upset. I mean, it's not uncommon that somebody has to change it a little bit, okay? They have to alter it, but there were other things that really stuck out. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't say that most of the evidence in this case was circumstantial. And if Jay was here, he'd be having a fit. Okay, although he'd be very happy there was a body. I mean, not happy there was a body, but he would be pleased that in evidence there was a body with an autopsy that proved that the person did die from gunshot wounds. Okay, and that the coroner had listed it as homicide, meaning someone killed him. Those weren't accidental gunshots. Someone killed him. So the case should be opened and someone should be arrested. So in September of that year, Nancy, his wife, who's 71, and I should say that Daniel was 63 at the time of his demise, and she was older, but they were supposed to be in love. All accounts, no one could really give testimony that they weren't. There did not seem to be any romantic trouble between the two. There was a bit of financial trouble. There was some unpaid mortgage. There was some struggling. There was an extraordinary amount of life insurance being paid. But, as the defense had pointed out, and I'd have to agree with them, that's not that unusual at that age group. There are insurance policies that you can pay a lot up front so that when you get to a certain age, you get it all back. And it's kind of an insurance plus savings plan all in once. And I can tell you from experience, having older relatives, that I had to help figure all this out, that can be very enticing to them to be covered in large amounts for an accidental death and at the same time be saving at the opportunity to get it all back should you live to a certain age. And I believe the age may have been 73 or 78 for Daniel. So it was not that it wasn't within reach, that they would have been well off financially had it occurred. They were getting a little bit behind, but that was being resolved by the time the murder happened. They had some difficulty. All kinds of rumors, because he was so beloved, were running amok all over the place. It was rumored that she had him so far in debt that he had to take out second mortgages and things like that. But the truth of the matter during the testimony was he did take some money out of retirement to help get caught up on the mortgage. Okay, they did take out a small loan also against the life insurance policy. Okay, and they did get caught up. They were doing better at the time of the murder. Okay, so the other thing that was brought up in there with the defense was that, when you have a murder, normally life insurance isn't going to pay you out right away. A gun was used. It was declared homicide. The likelihood that a wife thinks that she's going to kill her husband and get away with it using a Glock 17 and the insurance company is just going to hand over the money and you're going to sail off into the sunset, and pay off all those bills and, all that. Highly unlikely, very highly unlikely. So there was that, kind of weighed on the side of, circumstantial evidence. What they did find was that she was driving around that day in the van, that she had a ferocious Starbucks habit, and she liked to go to Starbucks every day, every other day. She spent thousands of dollars, about 1,000 odd a year, which is about a drink a day. Starbucks is expensive. There, it was one of the fancier drinks, but one a day. I mean, being a coffee lover and liking fancy coffees, I could say that's not that bad if you can afford it and you go every day. That's part of your routine. Hey, I can't really falter on that. Doesn't make her somebody who put him in debt so far out of control for that little habit. There are worse habits to have, worse debts to have. It did put a little bit, but this is what I want to express as the type of rumors that were going on, the type of, what they were looking for, any little thing they could, okay? Because he was so well loved, so popular, and well, she just wasn't. She just wasn't. When I say author of this How to Kill Your Husband, that happened in 2011, well before, okay? She is a self-published author. She doesn't have a big writing, she doesn't have a big publishing company behind her. She didn't receive massive amounts of advancements, she wasn't known. She liked to write. It was her hobby. She paid for it. She put stuff out. Okay, she had several romance novels and this essay, I guess you would call it, How to Kill Your Husband. I'll read some of it for you in a little bit, but it's really not that bad. I think I've said worse about my neighbors. Shh, don't tell them. I mean, I wouldn't want this YouTube video to come up in a trial someday, But anyway, that would be circumstantial, right? Just me saying this, could you use that against me? You probably could. That's the kind of stuff that was going on in this case. They did have a little more. I don't want to make you believe or set you up to believe, if you don't know anything about the case, that there wasn't anything to it. Because as it unfolded in front of everybody, in front of everyone in the courtroom, which the trial took about 6 weeks, because it should have not taken that long. They scheduled it for maybe 4 or 5, but during the course of the events, it started around April 5th, and during the course of the events, the trial, someone came down with COVID. So, of course, everybody had to go home and wait, and everything had to be taken out. So there was a bit of a delay. This was a 12 jury, 12 persons on the jury. That's a lot of people to convince. A lot of people to convince. Only takes one, right? Well, they had 12. They spoke to 12 jurors during the course of this 6-week trial. And as they laid out the circumstantial evidence of, her not being where she was or not knowing where she was, because in the beginning, Nancy kept saying that she had a memory hole. That day, she was confused. Everything she said she did that day could have been done the day before or the day after or maybe a couple of days, because like she has routine and the days all slide into each other, things like that. Her testimony just didn't really hold water for a while. And so she was charged with second-degree murder. And she was held over in court, in jail, and no one got any answers for a very long time. I mean, it's 2022. 4 years later, we're dealing with a trial. They got delay after delay after delay. Some things happened during that period of time that helped the trial in a way. They had the prison, they had the prison roommate, the cellmate come forward with some salacious testimony that proved really not to be so big. But it was a big thing in the papers, and it was a big thing that she was coming forward in the trial. And basically it was the great bombshell testimony that really wasn't. But it did help as far as circumstantial evidence and the painting of a picture that really didn't put Nancy in too good of a light. In this particular case, I would say that Nancy is the one who did herself in, because even she wrote that paper back in 2011, and that was out there. And I will tell you that that never made it to court, although everybody knew about it. And although it does seem like such a juicy tidbit that, okay, you write in an op-ed in 2011 and then all of a sudden your husband ends up dead in 2018. Well, the judge decided that something written that long ago could not have any pertinent information to a trial 7 years later. And I kind of agree. A lot of things happened in 7 years. How could that possibly be related? I mean, it does sound good. It sounds salacious, and it sure made headlines every day with this trial. Every day, that was how we referred. It's how I referred to her. It is how you all may remember her or this case or her name. If you knew anything about it, you have heard it as the How to Murder Your Husband murder trial. The writer who wrote that, Nancy Crampton-Brophy. She wrote it. It really wasn't so bad. It really wasn't. For anyone who will. I can't find the actual original on it. There are people that write parts of it all over. I'm going to try to find you a few of it while I talk here because there were quotes. Let me just read a little bit, just a little bit. One paragraph starts with, I spend a lot of time thinking about murder and consequently about police procedure. After all, if the murder is supposed to set me free, I certainly don't want to spend any time in jail. And let me say clearly for the record, I don't like jumpsuits, and orange isn't my color. She's a bit snarky. And you know what? I can't really fault. I mean, that's not so bad, okay? But the jurors never got to read this. They never learned anything about it. And although all over reporters were saying it was chilling prophecy, that she actually had planned it for years, I would say if she did, she probably would have did a better job. If you married for money, aren't you entitled to all of it, she says in the op-ed or the actual essay? But to carry out a successful murder, that would require you to be like organized and ruthless and, rather clever, at least smart enough not to get caught, and smart enough not to do some of the things that Nancy eventually was exposed for doing. Because the police aren't stupid, they're looking at you, especially if you're the spouse, especially those close to the victim. Okay. The Portland police the detectives and the police who investigated Daniel Brophy's killing, they weren't buying that she didn't remember where she was, okay? And of course, they went around and they're looking for footage of anything because they knew she had been driving around, And they found quite a few interesting things. I could tell you about a storage unit that they searched where they found parts of a put-together gun that happened to be Glock 17 style, one of these gun kits where you have to assemble them yourself. They're all different separate parts that she had bought them on Etsy individually to put together to make a Glock. However, when they found this in the storage where it had put it away, it had never been assembled. They could prove it had never been put together. She was unable to accomplish that. So, he was killed with a Glock 17, but she was never able to put it together. So how could they say that was the gun? They couldn't. They could not say that was the weapon, even though they had the bullets, even though they knew the type of gun. They would have been able to forensically put it together, but they couldn't put that on Nancy. They could not put that particular pieces of gun on Nancy. Okay. Now, there was a ghost gun kit. Yes, always, I see you. I'm getting here. I see you, and you can help me along here because this is fun. I'm having fun. I really am. Because, there was another one. She purchased another gun, a Glock 17, and she purchased it with the parts that created, I guess, Aaron or someone in the chat can help me with this. I'm not too technical on these, so, you can kind of call me up on it if you need to. But basically, there are two parts of the gun that can be disassembled, and one of them's the barrel. And we all know forensically the barrel is very, very important for how the bullet goes through, for forensically tying the murderous bullet to the weapon. I think we can all agree with that, right? And so apparently there was another gun that she purchased where the barrel could be removed, and so could one other sliding part of it. And although they found the gun, somehow or other they can't find the second barrel and clicky thing that goes with it. Now, they found one on the gun when they got the gun, but the part that was fired wasn't there. So they didn't tie it, as far as I can tell, in the evidence that I'm looking at. So, to me, this is circumstantial. I've got a Glock 17. I've got a dead husband with a couple of bullets in him from a Glock 17. I got a wife driving around, but, she doesn't know where she's been. But she doesn't think she was anywhere near the school, not where he was teaching. And apparently they're in love. They're so in love, and their financial troubles are all working out. And the insurance wouldn't pay anyway. So, what's the deal here? What's the deal here? How did she get convicted of murder? How? Because she wrote an op-ed in 2011, and we've got circumstantial evidence that can't be tied really to her. How did she get convicted? Because they were really, really clever. That's how. They were really, really clever. Unfortunately for Nancy, they did actually prove that it was a Glock 17, and they had experts, really, from what all the reports are. And I wish I had seen this live. I did not. I'll have to do some more research to see if I could still find the footage. But apparently their expert witnesses were so boring that no one in the courtroom really knew what was going on. But the reports, even from the reporters, all say words like boring, way too long, don't really know what the point was, a lot of stuff like that. I found that amusing the last couple of days reading on it. There's definitely going to be an appeal, I think, if they didn't understand the witness, and this evidence is so circumstantial. I would say that Nancy has a good shot as an appeal, because it just seems that they wanted her from the beginning. But let me continue, because it does get a little bit better, okay? It does get better. There is stuff here, if you're familiar with the case, okay? But anyway, there is now, they have a gun, okay, but they only have one barrel and slidey thing. If somebody knows the name, the clicky thing, the slidey thing on there, whatever it's called, they don't have that. They have another set on it, okay, but they realize that it comes apart and there's more to it, and they cannot locate that. They believe that was the one that was fired. That is the one that the murderous bullets went through. That would be the one that would tie her directly to the murder, because she had to admit this was her gun. She bought it. Okay? She bought it. It was hers. It's Glock 17. Just like the one she was going to put together that she couldn't, that she hid in the storage, or put in the storage. I can't really say hid. I'm not her. I don't know her motives. But she did put it far away from the house. Yeah, kind of like a clip or something. I don't know if it was a clip, but could have been. Could have been, my murder minions. I don't know. No, I don't know. It's a Glock 17, and I don't know guns. I'd have to say. Thank you. If you'd like to, always go right ahead. You can send it to either our Twitter DM and or our Discord, and I'll pull it up, because I'd like to know the rest of the witnesses, because there was so much. That's good. But anyway. Let me continue with what I do know about it from the research that I've done. Besides her having a Starbucks affection and a memory hole, and, pissing off the investigators by changing her story several times and being just a little unlikable, she was obviously in grief. Everyone says that it looked like she was really tore up about this also. She didn't play lightly, like it didn't matter. She wasn't not liked because she wasn't grieving or that she didn't miss him. There was really nothing there, as far as I know. Nothing really salacious in any of the reports that I read that said that, she ran around celebrating or doing anything like that, as far as that was, But what they did find eventually is they found footage of the van right near right near the school, right near the Culinary Institute, where her husband was murdered. And they found it at the same 18-minute window that is estimated to be the time of his death. They got his time of death through the autopsy reports and all of that CSI stuff, the fancy stuff, the really good stuff, liver temperature and blood mass coagulations, entry wound, this, that, the other thing, how far things have, stiffened up, gelled up, all of that gory stuff. Well, 18-minute window is not very big, is it? And unfortunately for Nancy, her van was right there by the Culinary Institute, back and forth within that 18-minute window. She was there in the vicinity, right there. And she didn't tell them. She kind of passed it off like that could have been the day before. That could have been yesterday. That could have been, I don't know. I'm having a memory issue on just this day. So that didn't go over very well. It didn't go over very well with any of the detectives, and they decided to go forward with what they had as far as circumstantial evidence. They did have a body, though. Jay would be very happy. There's a body. Okay. There is absolute autopsy report that says homicide. So there's been a crime, and they have a crime scene. And they have footage of Nancy near that crime scene. And they have Nancy pretending she doesn't know what's going on. And they have this gun that she didn't put together. And this other gun that has replacement parts on it. All the same kind of weapon that they find was used for the murder, a Glock 17. So there you go. Nancy got charged and sat in jail for years with a cellmate who she talked to a lot. Brought her into trial. And that cellmate, from the recollection that I read in a couple of the the court reporters that were in the courtroom during the testimony, said that she recalled that Nancy told her that how close the gun was fired to him when it was fired, and put out her hands and demonstrated the distance. And that was supposed to do her in, because she demonstrated that she might know the distance to which her husband had been shot. That's kind of circumstantial to me too. Although to talk about it so callously, with the cellmate and everything like that, about what they have on her, was it boredom? Was it just trying to find something to talk to somebody about? Was it frustration that they actually thought she did it? Was it that she did it and she was talking about it because she was there? Circumstantial, but pretty damning, although it wasn't the bombshell it was put out to be by the prosecution. Not a lot there. I don't know about you guys, but when they say bombshell, cellmate coming in to talk, I figured there was going to be a big thing, lots and tons of things that she couldn't wiggle her way out of. But actually, when it kind of hit like a little dull, soft bomb, little puff, kind of like a powder puff explosion, instead of like a big whack. So there was that. There was that also added to the evidence. The topic was kind of her forte. Yes, she did. If you look at some of her books, Erin is correct. Thank you, Erin, for adding to the conversation. She definitely had, it was like, what it was, one was like The Wrong Husband. What a title for a book. The Wrong Husband. How to Murder Your Husband. The Wrong Husband. When Things Go Bad. How to get out of stuff. All kinds of things like this. I think that's what Erin's referring to. She definitely had a way with words to just kind of express her displeasure, He was shot close range. Yes, let me just, we're going to get to that right now. Always, Kim is correct. When I talk about the cellmate's testimony, the reason it's important that she was talking about how far with her hands, like opening them in front of her and showing how far a distance it was. The autopsy reported that it was only a few feet distance. She was up close and personal when he got shot. Or did I say she? I meant whomever, because I'm not so sure she did it. Whomever did it was up close and personal when he was shot, and he was shot twice. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Let me just tell you, I don't know if that would do her in. Mm-hmm. But the medical examiner said it was close enough. And, they can tell, right? Forensically, y'all are with me on this. They can tell by the burns of the bullets itself, how deep it goes, how far it goes, the type of weapon that is used. All of these they use and they analyze, how close somebody was. They go by angle, they go by height. They add all kinds of things in. Okay, the direction, height of the other person, height of the person who was murdered, the angle, how far the bullet goes in, type of bullet, type of gun, everything. They have ways. And they said it was close, definitely close range. That's right. There you go. There you go. I don't know. Yeah, she should have used the icicle method, I'm sure, Robsky. Charlie's got a good one there. Kind of like you wouldn't be able to find the weapon, would you? And you'd have no idea, like, really how it happened. Unless they talk to Charlie out here on YouTube and there's clips that they could use for circumstantial evidence. Just like when I said that I could have wrote what that woman wrote about my neighbor. Something like that. Shh. Robsky, we shouldn't talk about it too much. But anyway, out of the circumstantial evidence, we still have a few things to go. They got the weapon. But I got to tell you, the worst thing that happened in this trial, okay, is that, well, Nancy did have a very good defense attorney. She had a woman who seemed to really try to put out a great case for her, argued with her about everything being circumstantial, pleaded with them about how they were in love. There is no actual motive. So help me out here, murder minions, YouTube, anyone listening. Tell me why, if they're supposedly in love and their financial troubles aren't really as bad as everybody's making them out to be, what's the motive? Why would someone close up murder a very popular culinary chef, instructor, very popular? Everybody seemed to think they were happy. The neighbors, there was no neighborhood things. There's no records on file of anything going on anywhere. No big gang busting things coming out about domestic, police coming to the house for fights or anything, or the neighbors saying there's funny noises coming from the backyard. Nothing like that. Not even whispers. Except for they don't really like Nancy too much. And they really, because she wrote this, How to Murder Your Husband, it became a thing. It became a big, big thing. Mrs. Cassandra, do you think boredom, and let me put it out there, is boredom with your spouse enough motive for 2 bullets from a Glock 17 while he's at work? Because let's face it, he's 63 years old and he's still going to work every day for you. He's paying bills. She tells a story about being in the bathtub and they were supposed to have a romantic night, and the bubbles are all going, the candles are going, and he's taking a little time, and she yells out, Daniel, aren't you joining me? And he says, yes, of course. I'm making hors d'oeuvres to bring in. I mean, they were in love. Who makes hors d'oeuvres for the bubble bath unless you're like crazy about the person who's naked in the tub? He wasn't interested about just getting his yaya going. He was interested in making her happy. So that doesn't sound to me like boredom. It doesn't sound to me like the kind of couple that like grew apart. I mean, they could have. Nobody's inside a marriage, right? Aaron, you got something there. Maybe he did chew with his mouth open. I I haven't got there yet. I do know someone who did that, but I didn't have any fantasies about Glock 17s or bullet holes, not much, she did kept saying that he should retire. Yes, there was that, Aaron. Now we're getting to something. Okay, now we're getting onto something. She did say she wanted him to spend more time with her, that he would like him to retire. She was 71. She had more free time. He was 63 and wanted to keep working. This is true. Mm-mm. And always is telling me, okay, I'm going to put this one up. Okay, this is true. I didn't get to read all of the bio, so I will say that Always is going to help me out here a little bit with this one, because did you read her author bio? She stated something about with her marriage and said, be careful what you wish for, because when the gods get angry, you get your wish. I guess maybe she was saying that she had put something out there in anger, and then all of a sudden it came true. And yeah, it is hard to murder someone with the grape, no matter how angry it is. And that's a story about angry grapes and driving that I know very well because it's personal. Thank you, Aaron. But at that time, I never really had fantasies of a Glock 17 then either. And I was really angry about the angry grapes. Although I was laughing, I did break up with someone over there, but I never thought about a Glock 17 or anything like that, which is, I'm laughing, but this isn't funny because this person is in jail now, convicted, waiting for sentencing on June 13th, by the way. She's not sentenced yet, but she is guilty, all 12, unanimously. Within 24 hours, decided she was guilty. Heard on 24 hours, guilty, unanimously. Sentencing on June 13th. Second-degree murder. Slam dunk. Didn't even ask many questions. Okay. With what? With what? With what? Like, I'm flabbergasted. Like, I need a little help here always, because I am telling you, I am telling you, I'm having a little bit of an issue with this. But, towards the end of the trial, I started to get a little clue about to what may have happened here. And it was kind of reminiscent to some other things that are going on that I see, some other trials that I have followed. A few things. Nancy went on the stand. Yeah, I said that. Didn't we have this conversation before? A couple of us here about a few other murder trials. Like, if you're up for murder, don't go on the stand. Let them come to conclusions themselves, but don't go up there and give them anything, because it's murder. It's serious. Don't take the stand unless you have to. But she did. She did. She sure did. And she made a mess of it. She sure did. They didn't believe anything that came out of her mouth, that jury. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to answer things correctly. She kept trying to play up that memory thing. She changed her story on the stand several times, added more detail to it than she should have. And all of a sudden, things that she didn't say before were coming out of her mouth. This is all really, really bad. Really bad, right? And unfortunately, I think this is what did Nancy Crampton-Brophy in. Nancy pretty much did the evidence against herself. Okay? When talking about the gun, she couldn't really come up with a good reason. Okay? There were lots of things, why, this, that, the other thing. Nothing really made sense. And the going back and forth and the waffling about it really did it in. Okay? Oh, everybody, you guys agree with me. Really, save your testimony and what you think happened for the appeal in case it goes the wrong way. I agree with you. I agree. That's right, Monkley. The best answer is I don't recall, but it shouldn't be on the stand. It shouldn't be. It should not be. Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know. Hmm. You know what, Virillion? I read 15 articles and not one muffin in any of them. And to tell you, I will admit to being quite disappointed that I did not discover the Muffin Man in this one. There was no man, there was no muffin. There wasn't very much humor actually, except for that this op-ed, this I keep saying op-ed because I'm like obsessed with another trial, so forgive me. I mean essay, okay? It's not even a book that she wrote. It was a simple little essay about, what how she would kill her. I could be guilty of this because don't we joke about it all the time, Murder Millions? About, what to do with the bodies, and how to get away with it. I mean, like a joke, she wrote it. And then, but there is this other little nagging thing about, be careful what you wish for, because she says she was so happy. Well, maybe she just, like, now they're trying to say that all she wanted was the money, the insurance money. But if you want the insurance money, the worst way to kill your husband is with a Glock 17, close up and personal, where he works, while you're in your own van. Drive yourself there, get out, shoot him, get back in, drive away, get caught on tape. This is not well planned, especially if you were talking about it 7 years ago. I mean, you had plenty of time to figure out how to do it better. But there was no arguments. There was nothing sudden that happened. I have no affairs. I have no other people involved. I have no real, like, they were going to lose their house in a day. There wasn't anything like that. There was no, nothing untoward happened between the two of them, and that is why it's the most boring thing I've ever read that fascinated me. Absolutely fascinated me. I got nothing to sink my teeth in here, and I am flabbergasted. Can you explain this to me? I am absolutely flabbergasted why she's going to jail. She's sentenced on June 13th. We're going to hear sentencing. Within 24 hours, bye. It was like, we don't like you, Nancy. You must have done it. You must have done it. You must have done it. I mean, yes, they do have the footage that she was there, but do they have her in there? Do they have her in there? No, I didn't hear anything about fingerprints, footprints, evidence inside the building, anything on the body that indicated that she had touched him. I didn't hear any of that. I just heard that she was in the vicinity. 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 Not inside the building. Not parked. Come on. Circumstantial. I could see why Jay has an issue occasionally with circumstantial evidence. I mean, this was not 143 pages like in the Morphew case, okay? This is not like pile upon pile upon pile upon pile, okay? And that got tossed. And that had so much more circumstantial evidence than this. This one, she's going to jail, and I really want to know what you guys think about that. I really do. Because it's definitely, I got a big on me. I do. I do not believe they found that because, they didn't test her right away for it. It does need to be beyond a reasonable doubt, but there are 12 jurors, student, who said within 24 hours unanimously that she was guilty based on the evidence that they saw. When the standard operating procedure, this is good. I mean, I'm going to have to just not be married if this is the case, okay? All right. The standard operating procedure is when all else fails, charge the spouse. Well, I know they look at the spouse. They look at the lover. They look at the people close. That only makes common, it kind of gives you some common sense because they have proximity. They have intimacy. They have the things that can go wrong. We could find I didn't either, Kim. That's what I was just going to ask you. I was waiting for you to pop back into the chat. I did not see anything about gunshot residue in there, but I will be honest. I have not seen the complete evidence file. I'm waiting to find a source to get actually the crack in there to get a good look. I have only seen surface materials, the original complaint. I saw the arrest. warrant, which wasn't in detail like Morphew's detailed all the evidence. Boom, 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 boom. This one wasn't like that. Okay, it was just charges. Some of them are like that in different states, different counties. Everybody has their own procedures on how they do things. I didn't get a lot of detail. I'm going by 15 articles that I read and only one actual official lead into some documents that were available. Not my usual deep dive. I mean, forgive me, murder minions. I kind of been other places dealing with a real mess, over there that just kind of simmered down for the weekend. So I only had a couple of days, I will admit. That doesn't mean I'll drop it because I am. It's the most boring thing I've ever heard, and I'm fascinated. And that's like flipping me out. So you're going to have to help me, murder minions, with this one. I need to know why she would do it. Why do they think she did it? Kim, anywhere in the articles that you read or what you had heard about it while you were following it, because I believe Kim may have been following it as it was unfolding, did they ever say why they thought she did it? What possible reason would the jury latch on to get motive? I know the prosecution presented finances as a motive, okay? But from what I saw in what they did present, the defense was able to kind of soft pedal that away pretty well. It was not that bad. Everybody gets a little bit behind. They had made great strides to get caught back up. They didn't make any extraordinary moves financially to do it either. They were all kind of reasonable based on their age group and the economy and what was going on, their financial situation. Nothing looked that horrible. That's it. All we have is surveillance footage of the van in the area. Oh, Aaron, you have such a great investigative mind. Does that sound like enough to you? Let's put it this way. You guys here in the chat and anybody on YouTube that wants to DM me later or send a comment in. If you were on that jury, was that enough for you? Would her demeanor, her unlikable demeanor, her waffling about a dead husband on the stand 4 years later, would that have been enough for you? Would that have been enough? Do you think you could say without a reasonable doubt? Do you think you could say clear and concise evidentiary proof? No, Liam, none of it matched the murder. None of the essay that she wrote. And let me remind you, the jury never got to hear it. The public condemned her for it because, how dare you write something like that? That's just rude. And then your husband ends up dead? That can't be a coincidence. I mean, small town, talk, right? Oh, boy. But no, not enough, except for the fact that she was making fun, like I read. Oh, well, if you're going to kill your husband, make sure they don't find the body or do it right. Don't get caught because you want to spend that money, right? And nobody looks good in orange, Maybe, Robski, it must have been the shifty eyes. I'm with you. It had to be those shifty eyes. But she did look grief-stricken. She aged herself over this in those 4 years. Of course, she was in jail and stuff and, dealing with a murder trial. That could be pretty stressful. But it didn't seem like she was thrilled that he was gone. It did not. It did not. The fact that it was a Glock 17 and not just a Glock says something unless she used it in her book. What does it say? What is the difference? Help me out, Aaron. What's the difference? Why is it more important that it's a Glock or a Glock 17? Always, shock can do that. But I also say that, I'm getting there, that when they did bring it down, she always brings up the point, and I'm going to put this up because this was important. But this doesn't affect, the reason I haven't mentioned it yet, is this does not affect how they came to their decision, because this was after they made their decision, which is why I haven't mentioned it yet. Because I'm trying to find out how they got there, I really, really want to know how they got there. The devil is in the detail. Glock is the brand. Glock 17 is a specific model. There have been numerous models over the year. And that is unusual, Aaron, because she kept getting the same Glock 17. Like the gun she was going to put together was Glock 17, like when it would be assembled, okay? And the one that they found with the barrel that was new and with the slidey thing that was new, that was obviously real new, and there's another parts of it missing that they know she bought. She bought the Glock 17 with another barrel and a slidey thing to go with it at the same time. That's how they know there are two, okay? And they can't find the second ones. Now that's suspicious. Okay, that's I admit that's very, very, very suspicious. It's very suspicious to have a wife with the type of gun in anywhere near her that killed her husband. Like, it's a Glock 17. It's very specific. Like Aaron said, it's a model. And he has holes in him now, and he's dead, and it was a Glock 17. I mean, yes, that's very, 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 very sus. But there's nothing on the gun that says that ties it to the bullets. Because the barrel and the shifty thing. Now, I read a lot of murder novels. I like Kuntz, I like King, Harlan, all of them, okay? I like drama. I used to fall asleep to Discovery ID TV. I read legal briefs every day. Yeah, I'll know that there's messed up stuff everywhere. So yeah, it is very sus, I will admit. It is very sus that she had access to a Glock 17. And she knew enough to have a replacement barrel and slidey thing, whatever that is called, so that it couldn't be tied. Well, she had it, and it's missing. And they have record that she bought it. And that is sus. I think you all will agree. Okay. And maybe that's one of the things. I think that's a very strong point with the jury. They're probably looking at her cross-eyed about that, wouldn't you say? Maybe? And this is another point. Thank you always, because I was almost forgot about this. There was testimony by, I think it was a friend of the family, okay, and some relative of his that came forward and said he actually had made statements that he would never allow a gun. And she stated that she bought the gun for him when he went out foraging for mushrooms. That's the other thing. He liked to cook. He's a chef. He's a chef instructor. Okay. He's very popular. He loves food. He loves to cook. She bought him the gun to protect himself, or so her statement read, that the gun was purchased for him. It was his gun to protect him while he was out foraging for mushrooms, because, mushroom thieves and all, you got to protect yourself from them. Okay, I jest. I'm sorry. And me, I'm a little snarky. I can't help it. That was funny. All right. So Aaron's telling me now, because he's a wizard at this stuff, and, I'm not Googling because my Chromebook hates me today, in case anybody didn't see my other stream. But Aaron is telling us that he just looked it up, and the Glock 17 is the most common model. It's the one used by most law enforcement. Really? That's very interesting. Oh, Liam, is the slide thing actually called slide? Is it really? That's kind of cool. So I'll just call it the slide now. Okay, so the barrel and the slide are missing. That's easier. Thank you. All right. So, no, it's not the ceramic Glock 7 from Die Hard 2, although that would really add a lot to the story, wouldn't it, Robsky? Because then we could make all of those yippee-ki-yay and things like that references, and it would make the story much more interesting to tell, but I digress. Anyway. Yeah, because mushrooms can kill, Robsky, but not with a gun. Not with a gun. Okay. All right. Paul Bailey, he was a friend of Dan Murphy. Yeah, Dan Brophy's friend. Okay, he's the one who stated it. Thank you very much for the name, always. Coming out of the rafters here to help me out. Thank you for the name, because like I said, I've read all this in the last 2 days. It's a lot, and there's nothing there. And so, I don't have anything to stick my teeth into. Yep, protection from the mushrooms. Let me get a Glock 17 to a man who does not want a gun anywhere near him. Mm-hmm. So I wonder, Aaron, if the Glock 20 kicks like hell, could a woman? I mean, I guess you could. I mean, I don't want to say man, woman, whatever. I wonder how much a Glock 17 kicks, and I wonder, once I get my hands on that testimony that actually happened in the courtroom, if there was anybody who said what kind of kick and how close, and whether or not a woman could easily handle a Glock 17 and kill her husband up close and personal without getting anything on her hands, blowing her back into a couple of chairs or anything, or disrupting the room, or leaving any physical evidence that she was there at the murder scene. Well, no evidence that she was there at the murder scene. That bothers me. Murder minions, does that bother you? An up-close personal murder with no evidence of anybody being at the murder scene. Yep, 9mm. Okay. Easily handled. All right. So then it is possible to come in, shoot them, and walk right out, leave no evidence? Possibly. There was, according to instructors, one table was slightly, but like always, all right, here's the thing. She's bringing up part of the testimony that one of the instructors had said one of the tables that they normally use was slightly out of position, and that it could mean that there was some kind of little scuffle that was going on. Well, then, it didn't really look like that big of a deal, and it didn't even get presented as that big of a deal, if I recall correctly. Am I recalling that correctly always? Because they kind of just poo-pooed over it, like really fast, like they didn't even dwell on it, like they didn't make any, big assumptions that they had this big fight while she was there or anything. So those of you that know guns, you're saying that the 9mm Glock 17 is easily handled. Right. Thank you very much, Kim. I appreciate the assist because, like I said, it's been a couple of rough days and 15 articles kind of all bleed together. And I got to tell you that every single person that wrote an article was biased. Kim, correct me if I'm wrong, but you read a lot of the same stuff I did. Were they not the most opinionated journalists you've ever? I mean, they were pretty biased. They were like, yep, here you go. It was kind of little, but they gave me no good details. They just wanted her gone. I don't think she was very likable in the court. But anyway, I'm coming up on the hour, and I just want to say that they did, after 24 hours, like I said before, they said guilty. They said that it was second-degree murder. She did it exactly as charged. No changes to any of the charges. No changes to what the prosecution asked for. Nothing. Okay? Within 24 hours, just came back and said, done and dusted. We shall have a sentencing on June 13th because Nancy Crampton-Brophy is guilty of second-degree murder of the killing of her husband, Daniel Brophy, on June 2nd of 2018, where he works at the Oregon Culinary Institute. He was a chef instructor, very well liked. Family loved him. The family is like at first in disbelief, but then like they, now they're saying things like, I always knew there was something wrong with Nancy. I laugh, but it's not funny. I mean, I'm kind of feeling for Nancy because I don't see a lot here to stick my teeth in. This to me looks like terrible circumstantial. And thank you very much always, because we're going to, after this, when the sentencing, we're going to use that witnessing thing. We're going to do that after June 13th. We're going to talk about this again. So what I would ask you guys is rather than spend another half hour or so talking about it, I'd like you to think about this and see if, I've linked a couple of articles down below as I find stuff. For those of you that are part of the Discord for the Murder Minions, I will put information in there because this is annoying me in a little bit of way, and I think it's something that we could look at. It's not too deep. I mean, yes, somebody's life is at stake here. Somebody's life was lost. In somebody's life may spend quite a bit of time. She can get 25 years for this, from what I read. And I would like to know that she actually did it. I want to see some more, or I want to know where they went with this. How How? Second degree. Yes, it does, Aaron. That's what I mean. What are they talking about? And yet they say there wasn't a fight. They said they didn't have anything. So, like, do you see what I mean? Doesn't it seem a little odd? Or am I just being like, am I just punchy from like a couple of weeks with another trial that's kind of drained me? I don't know. But this just isn't sitting right with me. There's something about this one. When I read it, there's just something about it. Mm. Anyway, on that, my solo legal on Nancy Crampton-Brophy, the How to Kill Your Husband murderer, convicted now by 12 jurors within 24 hours in Oregon, waiting for sentencing on June 13th. We'll come back to it. Let me know what you think. There's some articles down below. We can research some more. In the meantime, thank you for coming to my legal update and true crime drama stream. And I hope that Jay is well. And hope we see him very shortly, within the next day or so. I'll let you guys know what's going on, you know. In the meantime, thank you very much. I'm going to put on my exquisite little outro there. I just love, all the work that everybody is helping me with the music and everything. They just lighten my spirits, you know. And thank you all for hanging out. Thank you for those that were here earlier. Hopefully, I will be seeing you tomorrow sometime over there on Auditing the Absurd, covering the other trial. But in the meantime, we're going to come back to this one. Remember this name. Remember this woman. Okay? Help me out here. Somebody come up with an idea so we can let this go. I don't want this floating around forever. Like, we need to find out what's going on, Well, by June 13th, which is only a couple of weeks away. Enjoy the rest of your Monday evening. I'll talk to you all soon. Thank you to my mods. Thank you to everybody who's there in the chat. And I'll see you next Monday for something just like this. Hopefully, a little less boring without like a little more teeth to it. Just not annoying like this one was. So annoying.